Hello and welcome to Beautiful Literature with me, Teacher Martha. I want to hope that you are following up on how the videos we've been having. Now we are still on chapter 1 on the fathers of nations, and we done an earlier part 1 of the same and of chapter 1, but we didn't finish, and so we want to carry on with the same and just wind up because we don't want to rush it and finally do some unanswered areas. So kindly just be patient and let us go step by step, so that by the end of the day, even as we discuss, we'll also, when it comes to later discussing about themes and the character traits in the text, it will be a bit easier because already we have touched on a few of that as we look at it. Now, we talked about Dr. Folabi and his experience with Miss Mackenzie, and we also talked about the 4 visitors who are hosted at Seamount Hotel and where they have been posted, and the experience between the Dr. Folabi, who is also the guide, and him calling them and guiding them on what to do and whether they have settled and all that. And we see him having a very condescending tone towards them and really does not even want them to know him. And when they ask about him, he seems to be getting annoyed about it. And so we have the experience with Miss Mackenzie. Finally, they finish up and they don't even, they say, we don't want to talk again. Actually, you don't even have to meet me again. And I suggest you go read my book, not just its cover. He stood up. Now, if you'll excuse me, I too must be off and have a good day. And so that doesn't end up very well. And this we'll look at it in the future when we see Miss Mackenzie and Dr. Folabi meeting again. How does that relationship change, or how does it become better or worse? Now, we were looking at the 49 heads of state who are staying in Banjul and how for the summit, and how that arrangement looks like. And we actually are told that they were very happy. And this is something we need to point that actually we are told, that is on page 10. I hope you have your book with you. All looked happy, and why not? Had they not escaped from troublemakers in their home countries? They saw ahead of them a stay free from trouble here in Gambia, a country everyone kept calling the land of Kunta Kinte. All hoped to get from their stay as much rest as possible. Of course, at some point they would each take the floor, and as fans back home expected, address the summit, but that was something they could do with little or no effort at all. What does that tell us about these leaders? These 49 heads of state, actually for them going to Gambia for this summit is just it's more of a fun activity. For them, they are happy to be away from home, away from troublemakers, just to have some time to rest, just have time to just unwind, be away from trouble, and just have a good time. And actually, they say, and once in a while, when they go to the summit, they will take the floor and say something which is not very important. And but this was something they could do with little effort or no effort at all. So the reason why they came, for them, it's not key. It's the summit is really not the point. The point is they're away from home, they're having a good time, and that is it. And so that takes us back to the point of the title of the book, The Father of Nations. Look at the fathers we are having. That is the attitude towards the people who have actually paid for their trip. Their taxpayers' money have paid their trip all the way to come and sit in that summit. Now, the people of Gambia, though the presence of so many visiting dignitaries were not fun, true, 49 heads of state could give a hosting country good publicity, but heads of state are a huge inconvenience. So this publicity comes at a high price. And it's important for us to have a look at this, because when you're talking about some of the themes, we will want to come back to this on how this visit of the 49 heads of state, how does it affect the common monarchy, the common people on the ground in this country of Gambia. Number one, we are told on that paragraph, we are told that before the dignitaries arrived, the bulldozers, they were dispatched at night, and they cleared all the slums, all the kiosks around their way. They were brought down. And remember, this is where the common monarchy gets their livelihood, gets their feed to feed their family. This is actually their homes, some of them. But now the hosting country does not want the 49 dignitaries and their people and his entourage to imagine that this is a very poor country. And so what do? At night, they remove all the slums, not caring where these people will go, not caring what happens to these families. They demolish roadside kiosks on which whole families depend for their livelihood. That is one of the disadvantages of having the summit in their country. Number two, the roads get rare layers of tarmac at times of maximum traffic. So you realize that because of the much security and all that, there are so many roadblocks, there are so many security measures that are being taken, and traffic is heavy. People can't even move. On a normal day, you can't even move. And so people are caught up in traffic jams and so on, and people are not happy that if we didn't have all these visitors, we could have been moving on with our lives as usual. Number three, and there are checkpoints everywhere. And remember, these checkpoints are a source of bribe, and they are being bribed. You have to bribe them for them to allow you to pass. And so that's another disadvantage. You as a common mwananchi, you have nothing to do with them. You have checkpoints. You have to bribe them for them to allow you to pass. There is traffic. And remember, your kiosks have been removed from the road. And finally, which is even worse, is where the water taps at the whole neighborhood will have to be stopped. Why? Not because the dignitaries are taking a lot of water, but that water has been diverted into some place where the visitors can be able to see the water, the fountains have been built to do what? To mesmerize, to excite, to impress the dignitaries. So the water that the Mwananchi is supposed to be taking in their house and using in the house for their daily life is actually pouring somewhere in a fountain, so that some visiting people can be happy and say, wow, look at how this beautiful this country looks like. Do you think those people are very happy at all we have the summit in their country? Of course, if I'm the one who was there, I wouldn't be happy. And so therefore, as we look at our fathers, the fathers of these nations, I think it's important to also remember this is the kind of the fathers we have. This is the kind of the leaders we have. This is our political leadership, which does not even care at all about the people. They care about them and what is good for them. All right. And so finally, on that, we are about to finish on that chapter 1. But I wanted us to look at the issue of security and the security that had been put to ensure that the 49 heads of state were safe. And they decided, because there are so many people, instead of having so many points of security measures being put, they decided to put all of them, all these leaders, into one building. And so that all the leaders, that whole building is totally protected to ensure that all of them are okay. So both the service, the police service and the army played a major role in ensuring that this was happening. That is at the Pinnacle Hotel, which is located on the exclusive outskirts of Banjul. And so they made sure that the police who are in charge of the intelligence and secret agents, they're the ones who are ensuring that they have intel and their visitors are okay. And then also we had the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of International Cooperation. They are also, I mean, it was a whole affair. It involved almost every department in government to ensure that there is security. But what is very funny, what is ironical, is on page 12, when they talk about how many soldiers were involved in taking care of these people. They deployed 100 commandos in the compound inside the fence. You can imagine 100 of them. And we also told earlier, there's also a place we had been told earlier, about 1,000 of them. I don't know, I'm not very sure where that was. There's 1,000 of them. When I come across them, I'll tell you. And so there's so much police that has been involved. If there's 100 and there are 49 people, of course their teams and their dignitaries are also there. And so that whole compound has been taken care of. But there's a very funny statement that is there. So while the sky above may have remained open, the ground below was fully covered. This was very clever. I don't know what you understand by that. I would want to hear what you understand that the sky above is open and have remained open, but the ground below was fully covered. Very clever. And so on. So as you talk about that, it's important for you to know the impact of that towards the country as you channel all the protection and security into one building and one event and a few people, whereas you leave the rest of the country probably unprotected. And finally, the other thing that the leader had to deal with, the host had to deal with, it was a seating arrangement. It was a challenge, and I would want you to read on and see what options there were. He was wondering, do I use alphabetical order? Now, if I use alphabetical order, what does that mean? Do I put them in the orders of how they sit in their countries? This country to be neighbors to this one evil. I know, and they really wondered. It was a nightmare for him to decide who sits where. And remember that they were also, even in the hotel, they were also wondering, when it comes to the hotels, which country is hosted on which floor, in which wing, and all that. And remember that these people, he's not just talking about the 49 presidents, he's also talking about the people that he had come with. And there's something very funny on page 15 when he says that on the last paragraph, the second question was, how many rooms should a head of the state delegation get? This question sounds easy, but it is not. Except for the United Nations General Assemblies, African summits are the world's largest gathering of heads of states. Moreover, each head of state is accompanied by a delegation with members of a unknowable number. So, how many rooms should a delegation get? What does that tell us about our leaders? When our head of state goes to some place, he goes with an unknowable number of people. The people who accompany him forward to do what? They will not do anything in the summit, but they all go. Talk about misuse of public resources. They are going to do what? Then they are going for fun. They are going to have a good time. But the taxpayers' money is not that is being used to fund all this. I know of, even if you look at our countries, all these issues are also experienced in our countries. In our country, where we, at some point, there was even said that they would say they are going to do benchmarking. They are going to benchmark somewhere. And they were told they do no more benchmarking, no more foreign trips, because the money that was being used in those foreign trips, in those benchmarking processes and safaris, it was so much. And they were told, stop it. Just do what you can from here. And so therefore, these are African issues. They are African challenges. And I want to pray that, I hope that even as you carry on, you'll be able to appreciate, take what you see in this text and mirror it in our society. Mirror it what you hear on the news, mirror it on what you hear from our current situations. And so therefore, remember that literature is a mirror of the society. These things that you see in the textbooks, they are actually things that happen here, right with us. And so I want to stop it at that with chapter 1. I am hoping that that helps you to appreciate the themes that are there. Along the way, we'll be going back a bit and talking about the themes that are there. Of course, later on, we'll look at that. But as we go, appreciate the character traits of those people. Dr. Folabi, how would you describe him? And Mackenzie, how would you describe him? And I'm sure along the way, we'll be able to build on those characters, build on those themes, and have something substantive to talk about. So thank you very much for watching, and remember to subscribe and to share with your friends, and see you in chapter 2. Thank you.